Kambosos. We're talking right now about two-fight deal, including if Lomachenko wins, to do a rematch. I know some interest coming from Australian government. We've been talking dates. I don't know, but it's hard to say right now. But most likely end of May, June, somewhere in that area.
You are willing to go to Australia?
We're willing to go. Not just willing to go to Australia. We're willing to move Lomachenko to do camp in Australia.
Wow.
Couple months before, because that way we can guarantee the fight is happening,
right?
Because the country can be closed, can be opened, and
sure.
To go all of this. So we, if let's say the fight in May, so March, Lomachenko will be in Australia preparing for the fight. We don't have any reason why not to go there. We're including a rematch if they ask. So it's everything.
That's a huge event.
I guess if Kambosos goes a different direction, what is left then for Loma?
He's not going to retire and he's going to have all the 4 belts. That was his goal. Some weight class division, he needs to have a 4 belts. This is his right now goal, and he's going that direction.
Yeah, I really hope that fight goes. Is it out of the realm to think a Devin Haney fight, assuming that doesn't work out, is a possibility?
Devin Haney, if Floyd will allow Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, there is good names in the weight class.
Yeah, but I'm realistic. I have no faith in these young lightweights. I call them the 4 caps. People call them the kings. I don't. Loma seems to be the one guy that wants to be a fighter.
Exactly. Well, Kambosos seems to be that guy too. If he steps up and he accepts this fight.
All right. So we're going to take a deep dive into what is looking like going to be George Cambosos. Let's just, for semantics, say he's the undisputed 135-pound champion of the world, WBC franchise, WBA Super, IBF, WBO, and Ring Magazine champion. Is looking like he's getting close to a deal to fight former 3-division unified champion Vasyl Lomachenko June the 5th in Australia in the Marvel Stadium. I got my colleague Big J on the line. In the streams earlier I did this week, as you can see, February the 18th, 2022, 8:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm back in the groove, about to watch a live edition of Showtime Showbox with the up-and-coming prospects about to fight. Tomorrow morning, you're going to have Jorge Linares and Jai Opetaia, both former Devin Haney opponents, fighting from Russia. That's going to be on ESPN Plus, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to be here covering that card. And tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, another significant fight of the week. And just getting, little shout out and little boxing news for you. You're going to have Amir Khan taking on Kell Brook. Very exciting fight. And then, of course, later on in the night on DAZN, you're going to have Jaime Munguia taking on Demetrius Ballard. So before I bring my colleague in, let me read the show notes that we're going to be talking about this Aussie boxing breakdown. We're going to try to come up with like a more catchier name. But as it stands right now, keep it simple. Aussie boxing breakdown, Fight View 360. Episode, I guess this is like 4 or 5. We got to get the episode thing going too. February 18th. 2022 show notes. George Cambosos versus Vasyl Lomachenko CLOSE. 2-fight deal if Cambosos loses. Remember, these are just show notes. It's not supposed to really make too much sense, but you can get the gist. Egis Klimas, manager of Loma, says Loma to be in Australia in March to hold camp in case COVID restrictions lock down country. And then me and Big J are going to talk about that. Why Devin Haney is not getting the shot. Loma the bigger fight and generates more money. DAZN not willing to back Eddie Hearn on Devin Haney. What's next for Devin Haney if no Kambosos? And then we're going to dive into women's boxing a little bit. We got to touch on Mira's Briedis versus Jai Opetaia, which has been delayed. Opetaia, according to reports, has gotten sick, come down with COVID. Will the fights still happen? When? Who wins and why? Main event pay-per-view platform in Australia has some competition with the new streaming platform Stan. Yes, STAN. I wonder if that's an acronym, but we'll worry about that later. with Sonny Bill Williams versus Barry Hall card with Big J. Help me out while I'm reading these show notes. Who's on that undercard of note? It's going to be Anthony Mundine's son, and is it Tim Tszyu's brother, or Tim Tszyu's brother got his own card?
No, mate. Yeah, g'day. How you going? I hope everyone's doing all right over there. Tim Tszyu's got his own card.
Tim Tszyu's brother got his own card. Nikita, what's his name again?
Yeah, Nikita. Yeah, Nikita Tszyu's got his own card. He'll be fighting Wednesday 2nd. That'll feature the very anticipated fight between Dennis Hogan and Wade Ryan. That's an IBO eliminator. So for the IBO world title, that's an eliminator.
It's going to be Mundine's son that's on the Sonny Bill Barry Hall card, correct?
Yeah, I believe so, but I checked Bockrex this morning. He's not up there, so maybe they're waiting for an opponent or something. But I believe that it was going around that Mundine's son was going to be on CJ, I think his name is, on the Sonny Bill Barry Hall card, but that's still yet to be confirmed. But Paul Fleming, a very entertaining 130 pounder, is on that card. He's having another fight, which is good. So.
Okay, and the final show note is we're going to wrap up the video with a deep dive on what's going on with Jamel Charlo, WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Ring Magazine. Wait, does Charlo have the ring? I believe Charlo does have the ring. Does he?
Yeah, he does. He's got WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Ring Magazine. He's got everything but the WBO.
Ring Magazine taking on champion, taking on Brian Castano. Brian Castano has come down with a bicep injury that is sidelining him for a month, but we're going to take a deep dive into that at the end of the video. So let's go ahead and jump right into things. I got some clips here for you, and the news is it's looking like it's going to be George Cambosos versus Vasyl Lomachenko here in the States on ESPN. In fact, I'm going to play this clip before we really talk about it. So earlier today, what time is it? About 3 hours ago, 3 hours, 15 minutes ago, there was a new episode of Max on Boxing here in the States. Sports commentator, broadcaster, and boxing expert, as they call him. Max Kellerman has a show that comes on Fridays, and he had ESPN's Mike Coppinger on there, you know, the boxing guy for ESPN, basically giving an update on the fight. So take your time out, please like the video, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. You can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter. And our website, FightView360.com, our rankings are updated monthly in accordance with the sanctioning bodies. And basically, for those who have been asking, this is our test run for the podcast that we're going to be doing soon. So, you know, right now, you know, you got to crawl before you walk. So once again, take your time out, like the video, and let me start playing this clip.
That's what we have here. You're also reporting that Vasyl Lomachenko has agreed to his side of the deal to fight lightweight champ George Cambosos Jr. in Australia. How close is the deal to being completed?
Max, also really close there as well. Yeah, like you said, Lomachenko did agree to his side, and that deal includes a rematch clause if he beats Cambosos for a second fight in Australia, which of course is very appetizing to the Cambosos side. But no matter who he fights, whether it's Lomachenko more likely or Devin Haney, Cambosos' first defense of his undisputed lightweight title is going to be June 5th in Melbourne, Australia at Marvel Stadium. That's a domed stadium because it is winter time in Australia then. And that's going to be on a Sunday afternoon to make for a prime time Saturday night, June 4th telecast. And if it's against Lomachenko, it will be on ESPN.
So, Mike, you mentioned Devin Haney. What does this mean for Devin Haney? Kambosos Lomachenko, what does it mean for Haney's immediate future?
It's not good for Devin Haney, of course. I mean, he's pushed hard for that fight. He's still hopeful. But if he's not going to land it, like I said, that's 2 fights. So Devin Haney is probably kind of on the sideline in the title picture until at least 2023. And he's talked a lot about moving up to 140 pounds. That's a possibility. If not, maybe he looks for a fight at 135 against a guy maybe like Miguel Burchell or someone like that on the back end, because everyone else is going to be tied up, I believe.
So Ryan Garcia is coming up in the next segment.
I do got your clip from asking about the arena, Big J, but let's talk about the fight a little bit. Now, do you feel that this is the fight that's going to be made? Do you feel Devin Haney has a chance to land Kambosos fight in the final hours of these negotiations, or do you feel like it's going to be Lomachenko?
I strongly feel now it's going to be Lomachenko. I mean, there's been a lot of movement on Twitter and a lot of movement on social media and a lot of movement in the papers. But then again, until they get in the ring and that bell goes ding, it ain't going to happen. So I don't believe any of this talk or all this bullshit that they carry on with until an official announcement is made and they get in the ring. Because we all know things can change on a dime. So I'll take the fight as it is. But it's pretty much set in stone that George wants to fight in Melbourne at Marvel Stadium on June 5th. It's just a matter of who's he going to fight. Is Loma the bigger fight? Yes, Loma's the more reputable opponent, even though Devin's got that belt, even though pretty much no one's given Devin any, what's the word I'm looking for, any respect, because he is a WBC champion, but they don't treat him like he's won. You might as well just do a Riddick bow and throw it in the trash. So, yeah, because he's not getting the affirmation that he deserves. But, yeah, it's all politics and all that crap. But I think it's going to start leaning towards Loma. But it's funny because Bob did want to set this up when Loma was champ, as you recall. He said on the record that he wants to bring Loma to Australia and fight George when Loma was the champ. Then George became the champ. Then Bob said, "No, I got no interest." And now he's changed his mind again. But, you know, until it happens, I stay away from all these politics and all these rumours and stuff. Until they get into the ring, until there's an announcement, you know, I don't really play into it. So, but I think at the moment Loma is in, and Haney unfortunately is on the way out, which is shit in my book. So
I believe that as it stands right now, Loma is the front runner to get the fight. Loma, you know, bigger name, you know, not just in the States but globally, on
definitely.
a bigger platform, you know, respected platform with ESPN and I'm guessing it's safe to assume that this is going to be main event, you know, correct, over in Australia. ESPN and main event have worked together in the past. You know, likely, probably, you know, more money, you know, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that more money, you know, if he'll fight, you know, if it is Lomachenko, and we should be hearing news sooner than later, because if we start seeing clips of Lomachenko over in Australia training, you know, even if the fight's not announced, people are going to be like, okay, something is going on behind the scenes. Some contract has been signed, because if they're talking about June the 5th, you know, they don't really have to announce anything until the end of March or maybe even the first week of April or so.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And for those who will remember, Marvel Stadium, it was called Ettingham back then, but it was where Holly Holmes fought Ronda Rousey. So that stadium has been used before for big fights. So it's no stranger to huge combat sports. Going in June, the NRL's not doing anything. That's State of Origin. They're playing the following Wednesday, and the AFL, I believe, is having a bye round.
So you got to explain this to the American fans too, because sometimes I get a little confused. So basically, you know, football season rules, you know, that time of year in
Absolutely.
Australia.
Yeah, we've got two major codes in Australia: the NRL, National Rugby League, which is the rugby league; AFL, the Australian Football League, which is Aussie rules. That's our national game. Melbourne dominates, well, actually both codes, but Melbourne is an AFL city. That's where it was born and bred. But I don't think that those guys are playing that actual weekend. I think they're having a week off for some reason. The NRL certainly not, because they have their State of Origin, which is Queensland versus New South Wales, which is our most televised rugby league event, you know, on the yearly calendar. But that's happening up in Sydney the following Wednesday, so that shouldn't affect it. So, but yeah, if they're going up against the AFL in the MCG, which is just around the corner, the next suburb over, I think it's Collingwood playing Carlton, which are one of the two most popular teams in the AFL. They'll get 100,000 there easy, and getting 60 or 50,000 people to watch George is going to be a tall order. So they can't go up against the AFL.
So regarding, you know what, before I ask you this question, let me play this clip of you talking to George Cambosos from a media Zoom call that happened back in, what was that, October or November of 2020, whenever he fought Lee Selby.
It was building up to Lee Selby.
I'm playing a clip right now. Once again, take your time out, like the video, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, me at TStreet Controversy, and Big J at Old Mate, Big J, simple OldMate, BIGJ. Boom.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. So once you get past, you'll be number one.
Wait, but was it before this, Big J? It was your first question. Let me just play your whole segment of questions, and we'll just go from there because you did.
I think it's right where you have it is where it was. That question's coming up.
You need to make a big impact on this because the race is on in Australian boxing at the moment. Things are looking pretty good. So, what are you going to do to get up the likes of the Maloney twins with their potential fights?
Look, this is a huge fight. It's a world title eliminator, and obviously we all know what's after this. A unified title fight. So this, on my behalf, is huge for Australian boxing. We know what we've been doing. We're fighting for world champions and we're chasing world champions. And I'm here to make a massive statement against Lee Selby. There's a lot of holes in his game, and we're here to expose every single one of them. I'm not going to tell you what our game plan is, but it's going to be a painful boxing lesson for Lee Selby.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate. So once you get past, you'll be number one contender for Lopez. Is there a plan to bring that fight out to Australia, considering that there was publications that Bob Arum was going to have you to fight Lomachenko pre-COVID, and knowing that Australia is pretty much the only country at the moment that get half-decent crowds?
You tell me, 60,000, 70,000 people in a stadium in Australia? Tell me it doesn't make sense? When I'm mandatory, I think it makes sense for everybody. Personally, I love Marvel Stadium. Melbourne would be fantastic, but again, it depends how they're going. But look, I'm a Sydney boy, and ANZ Stadium would be massive. Fill it out. It's all there. It's all there for the taking. And when I do the business this Saturday against Lee Selby, that will be the next one. I'm very confident in that.
So tell me, how much does this stadium seat, and how many do you predict will be in attendance? What's your number? How many do you think is going to be in attendance?
Well, let me see. That stadium, I think, seats 55,000. That's how much they got at Ronda versus Holly. What do I think he'll get? Let's be honest here. Maybe he could get, if he's going up against the AFL the same day and there's a game at the MCG, he won't get it. Yeah, good luck with that. But if he's not going up against the AFL, he might get, I reckon, around 40. Because there's a very big Greek. There's a big Greek community in remember when the Australian Open was on, he was there, dancing around with all these fans. There's a very large Greek community in Melbourne, and there's boxing fans, and every man and his dog will jump on it. But as long as there's nothing else to go up against it, it should be a good sell. But once again, they need to promote the absolute daylights out of it and let people know it's actually happening. Like, they wouldn't be able to sell it out in 2 weeks. They need 2 months to tell everyone it's happening. So, because Melbourne's like New York, there's a lot going on at all. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's not just a one sport town. There's always something going on. So, but I think it's hard to tell. But hopefully he can get 40 there. I don't see him sell. If he does, great. But I don't see it. It's going to be a pretty hard sell.
And the buzz, do you how does Loma's name ring over there?
Loma's name's certainly a lot better than Devin Haney's. Mm-hmm. Like, hardcore boxing fans, obviously they know more about Loma than they know about Devin.
Yeah.
Because they don't really fighting Devin just for the pure status. Loma is a well more established, well more popular opponent. He's got a lot bigger name. And if they get the Maloney twins on the undercard and a few other, people that they can get on there, great. Loma is a far more significant name in the boxing world. But you got to remember that George is still not a household name in Australian boxing. So that's the other thing. They've actually got to get George out there. So, he's known here, he's known there, but if you were to walk, down the street and ask, old mate, a picture of George, I probably know who he was. So.
All right. So let's get to the nitty gritty of it. Me personally, here in the States, it's going to be, for those who don't know, or if you haven't, even though it's taking place in Australia, it's going to be an afternoon fight over there. Here, it's going to still be prime time. Here in the States, I'm Loma versus Kambosos for undisputed. it is going to have some weight to it. You know, I'm predicting the fight is going to be viewed well here on American television, especially with Kambosos' name being has risen, and Kambosos will be co-promoted by Top Rank. So Top Rank is also going to throw in how Teofimo had defeated Lomachenko, and basically I'm expecting the build up to be humongous. And as we've seen, Lomachenko can be pretty cocky, and he's going to feel that he's owed this, and I'm expecting for him to feel entitled and to talk some real smug, you know, act real smug towards Kambosos. And Kambosos, well, he's a very motivated guy. And remember, he told Tszyu to his face, you know, like, them belts are coming back home with me. You know, them belts cursed you or whatever. You know, basically it was some hardcore shit. So right now, I'm thinking that the fight's going to do, you know, well for American television. And I'm going to go ahead and say, to lead into the next topic, is Lomachenko has seen probably 1,000 George Cambososes. I'm expecting for Lomachenko, and I like George, I do. We're still hoping to get him on the channel. I like George, I do. But skills pay the bills. Now, when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, let's go ahead and talk about it. Teofimo Lopez, and I understand that people don't like excuses, but we got to call it like it is. Teofimo Lopez had some issues with his esophagus or whatever was going on. You know, so had some outside of the ring issues. You know, going into the fight, I predicted and thought to myself, if Teofimo loses, he's going to lose because of outside of the ring. Now, one thing I can say is that from what I've learned from Kambosos, which a lot of us was waiting to see, you know, how he would look if he really stepped up in competition. He's got the dog in him. He can fight, you know, and he's got heart and he's got some skill. He can box. So I would still pick him slightly in a rematch to defeat Teofimo from what we've seen so far. But let's be honest, a lot of us didn't expect for him to look the way he did and for him to beat the shit out of Teofimo the way he did. So can he do it to Lomachenko? Me personally, I don't think so, especially with what Lomachenko did to Nakatani, what Lomachenko did to Richard Comey. Even though he didn't knock out Richard Comey, you know, early, he still put a beating on both of them dudes. A beating that Teofimo didn't do. Well, he did knock him out. But what are your thoughts? How does George Cambosos win this fight?
Same way he beat Lopez, rushing from the opening bell. Even though George sat Lopez on his ass in that first round, that changed that entire fight.
He did.
I sent you a message after that first round. I said, George is going to win this.
He did.
Up until he knocked him on his ass, I was what, 55-45 that George was probably going to hang in there but still narrowly lose. After that one punch, I'm like, George has got this. So I think that George is going to rush him, and all George needs to do is gut punch him, and then Loma will be on the back foot, just like he was against Lopez. Loma can't fight on the back foot. George will rush him. Remember, George is a lot younger. He's in his prime. Loma's 33 now. He's had a few. He's coming off of surgery. He's had a few, battles. Yeah, he beat Richard Comey, but Richard Comey, how old's he? 37? At the arse end of his career?
No, yeah, he's
coming off
up
a
there.
bad
He's not
knockout.
37, no, but he's up there.
Yeah, so at the arse end of his career, coming off a bad
Richard
two-round
Comey's
knockout.
34 years old.
Okay, 34. Okay, so still at the arse end of his prime. And so is Loma. Loma's not, he's at the arse end of his prime. George is a hungry dog, as you like to say. He's got a lot of mongrel in him, and he ain't going to give up those belts easily. I can guarantee you that. So Loma outskills him, yeah, sure, old, but George outrushes him.
And Loma is 34 years old.
Yeah, I thought he was only 33. Okay, he must have had a birthday recently. But I think. Oh, happy birthday to him from everyone here at 5236. Happy birthday to him. I think that Loma, now because of his age, is certainly coming to a time where he's past his prime, where George is right in the thick of it. And George knows what he needs to do to beat him. You think George is going to fuck around him? That's not for a second. You don't see George out carrying on like a pork chop. He's in the gym every time he's a post. It's in the gym. So. Yeah, I think George is now going to be the new king of, or emperor, whatever he wants to call himself, of the lightweight division for a good 3 or 4 years until maybe Tank gets a hold of him. But we'll see what happens. But I think he can beat Loma. Not convincingly. I'm not going to say he's going to knock him out in 3 rounds. Bullshit. It's going to be a long, hard fight, and I think he'll get him on points.
So you think he can outbox Lomachenko?
I think he can outpower him and put him on the back foot, just like Lopez did. Yeah, that's what I think he can do. So he's got to rush him from the first opening round, hit him in the guts, just like Lopez did, and scare him off. That's what he's got to do. Just like he said against Lopez. What do? Throw the best right hand you've ever did right in the first round.
Yeah,
that's what he's got to do. He might even knock him on his ass.
Yeah.
He might even knock him on his ass. That'll change the whole fight if he knocks him on his ass. He knocked Lopez down. There's nothing saying he can't fight like Lomachenko. Has Loma ever been knocked on his ass?
I believe he did. I don't see it. So far, actually, yes, against Jorge Linares, he was down twice. He was down. No, Jorge Linares, he was down once in round 6 of the box rec.
Okay. And Jorge Linares, isn't that the bloke that Haney just fought recently? Is that right?
Yep, that Jorge Linares is the one that rocked Devin Haney. Jorge Linares is also fighting tomorrow morning, by the way. Actually, his card starts on ESPN Plus 12.5 hours from now. I'm going to be covering that.
How did you rate this Jorge Linares bloke? He's not world champion material.
No, gatekeeper-ish.
Okay, so if that bloke can knock Loma on his ass, what do you think George is going to do?
Yeah, and I would pick George Cambosos to beat Jorge Linares.
Well, there you go. So you see how you study the evidence. It's starting to mount up. George is, he's got the advantage. That's just my opinion. I mean, I know yours is different. That's fine. Yeah. But that's just my opinion. He's younger. He's stronger. He's got a shitload of mongrel in him. And he ain't going to give up those belts easy. No fucking way. I think you'll get him on points in a very, very hard fight. It's not going to be an easy fight. I think you'll get him on points in a very, very tough, hard, grueling 12 rounds, in my opinion.
So here's the way it's looking right now in the 135-pound division before we move on. Let's just say now this is, of course, if Kambosos Loma does happen. That's a 2-fight deal. So let's just focus on what's going on right now, with the results of the first fight not being in yet. Devin Haney is in need of an opponent. Ryan Garcia, he's returning to face Emmanuel Tszyu. Gervonta Tank Davis is facing Rolly Romero. And what Mike Coppinger also said on Max on Boxing is that Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis could possibly be fighting in the fall. So if both of them win their next fights, then that's their fights for 2022. So that's 4 fighters right now in the 135-pound division that are potentially tied up for the year of 2022. Isai Cruz, who fought Tank Davis on pay-per-view, was fighting. It's rumored that he's going to be fighting on the undercard of Spence versus Ugas. That is April the 16th or the 12th. I forgot the exact date. Against Yurkis Gamboa. And as we talked about, number 4 and number 7 ranked by the WBC, also in other sanctioning bodies, Jai Opetaia and Jorge Linares, who both Devin Haney beat, by the way, are fighting tomorrow morning. So right now, if Devin Haney doesn't get this fight, he might as well just bend that WBC belt and move up to 140 pounds because he's in the real tough spot. Now, unless George Cambosos beats, and in my opinion, he won't, but let's say if he does beat Lomachenko, then I don't expect for them to have another fight unless it's like super close, because at the end of the day, there's still that 2-fight deal. Let's say Kambosos beat Lomachenko so convincingly that Lomachenko doesn't want a rematch, then we could possibly see George Cambosos versus Devin Haney later on this year. But the way things are looking is not looking good, and a lot of hardcore fans are upset with George Cambosos for basically gaslighting and leading the fans on that he was going to, be a man about, the belts and the people and fight Devin Haney. That's what's going around now. So to be honest, which fight would you have rather preferred to wrap this up before we move to the next subject? Him versus Haney to clear up the undisputed, or Lomachenko?
Yeah, Devin. I think because of all the promotion they did, all that stuff that they did, they were standing next to each other against, was it Tank's fight or someone's fight, whenever it was last year. No worries, mate, come to Australia, we'll beat the shit out of each other, shook hands, all that sort of stuff. They put a lot of build-up into it, a lot of hype around it, and then I don't think it's fair for people to blame George personally, because there's a lot of politics and background stuff that, people don't know about it. And it's unfair. Because remember the boxers say each and every time, who are you going to fight next? Oh, that's up to my team. Well, then don't blame the boxer.
Yeah, but come on, George was making it seem like he like Devin Haney was the target.
Yeah, that's true. And Devin Haney should be the target because, of that belt. But there's so many outside factors. I'm a little pissed off because as much as I like Loma, I would have preferred, it should have went Devin, Loma, Tank, and then that Ryan Garcia bloke he kept winning. So that would have been the way I would have seen it happen. But yeah, I'm a little bit frustrated that Devin's not going to fight Kambosos, but nothing's been official yet. So, but we'll just wait and see. But they might throw that last second Hail Mary, and who knows what's going to happen. But I was really looking forward to Devin Haney, but we'll just have, if it's Loma, it's Loma. So,
well, we can both acknowledge that the Loma fight is a better fight, marketing, money, and on paper it's a better fight.
Level, on paper it's a 10 times better fight. No one can argue that.
Yeah.
Lomachenko's a far more established champion. I mean, he's the frigging GOAT amateur. So he's the amateur bloody GOAT. So you can't.
Arguably the best amateur fighter of all time.
Yeah, and it's better that he fights him now because in 2 years' time he'll be too old. They'll be pointless.
Yeah.
So
people will say he fought him when he was too old. Yeah, I get you.